So my name's Leigh Sinclair. I'm a painter based in Llandailo. Got an exhibition here until the end of the month, and it's concerning kind of ideas about sort of still life and how traditions of which kind of parallel a bit with our kind of current time, really. I've kind of always really enjoyed still life painting. It goes back to when I was in school and sort of discovering Cézanne for the first time, and I guess kind of finding it quite an accessible genre by comparison to maybe sort of still to religious painting or mythological painting, which I kind of felt still life kind of spoke more to me and more of me, I guess. And that kind of led to then a kind of a broader appreciation of still life in general, and then progressively then into sort of the kind of golden age of still life, which would have been the kind of Dutch kind of era around sort of 1600s, that sort of time. I kind of then sort of started to see these kind of parallels between what kind of drove that that kind of elevation of still life painting in Dutch culture with kind of what pattern is happening in our age as well. And I kind of sort of, I guess we're kind of looking at kind of what was happening in terms of in Holland at that time. They were they'd kind of achieved kind of independence from Spain. They were they'd become Protestants. There was a kind of rise of this kind of merchant capitalism, which had driven all sorts of like technological kind of innovation, which I think would have affected people's lives and working conditions and things like that. And I think that what still life was doing at that time was kind of almost like holding a bit of a mirror up against what was happening culturally there. So on the one hand, it was kind of demonstrating the new kind of found materialism and opportunity that this new kind of age of kind of independence and richness was bringing. On the other hand, it was also kind of demonstrating the dangers of overconsumption and excess, and what that could lead to, and kind of, you know, reminding people of the fact that we're all kind of mortal and there's only so much time that we have, and to kind of mind our time carefully, I guess. And then I kind of think it sort of like parallel that over our current time in regards to, you know, this kind of rise in automation and digitization and you know, sort of the fact that in particular in this country we're becoming more secular. I guess I started to see these kind of like parallels in kind of these definite, there's almost a number of kind of similar kind of existential kind of crises which we're experiencing, you know, especially with like the climate crisis and things like this. So I thought it'd be interesting to start working with a lot of the motifs that you might associate with Dutch still life painting, but bring them into a more sort of contemporary sort of environment, and then kind of play with. I always like that, you know, sort of in still life, you know, it is about human activity, but with the absence of people. Within my work, I kind of wanted to kind of play with that tension between kind of figuration and still life, and kind of sort of like making rules and like kind of breaking them simultaneously. And so like within that space, I kind of think that a lot of kind of fun painterly things can happen, which other influences which impact upon my work have the opportunity to kind of come to the fore then. So in terms of execution of the paintings and how I kind of went about constructing them, I kind of very much, in terms of like how I like to paint, it's, you know, I kind of like to put paint on quite thickly and sort of boldly and quite fast in a way. I kind of really love sort of Fauvism paintings, and in terms of the kind of the energy and vibrancy about them. So I think, you know, colour and how that paint is kind of laid down, and the immediacy of it, I think is kind of important to like how I enjoy sort of painting. It's for me, painting is very much about the process more than the kind of the outcome in some respects. And it's that idea of the surface. I don't really want the surface to be kind of this illusion of depth. I kind of want them to kind of look quite kind of, in some respects, two-dimensional. So even though I have aspects of kind of depth, I don't really kind of seek it as a way of kind of creating a field of depth in a sense. And that's why I kind of enjoy sort of painters like Antonio Tapia, who kind of like really kind of work their surfaces and kind of create these kind of this kind of sense of kind of sort of activity, kind of sort of beyond the kind of painterly surface, I guess. And I think, you know, sort of where, you know, sort of we kind of go into the painting, sort of sanding back, drawing over, and kind of pulling things forward and pushing them back. I think for me that's what I enjoy, a bit of sort of tension. And so when I talk about that kind of sort of play between figuration and still life, I kind of like that. Within this one in particular, having this kind of formless sort of example of like a figure in the background there, but it's more suggestive in a sense that this could be this kind of layered scene where, you know, the form was present, and this is almost like a ghosted image that the still life kind of is there it exists, but with that kind of human activity that, you know, still life always kind of illustrates, but rather than it being suggested through just objects, it's actually presented with aspects of form as well. So yeah, hope you can make it down to the show and sort of see the paintings in the flesh, because I feel as though that's where they're best to be enjoyed, really, so you can sort of really appreciate some of the kind of textures and shows forms within the paintings. And then shows on to the end of the month, and really grateful to Canvas for sort of hosting it, and there'll be kind of opportunities to sort of purchase the way it works beyond the exhibition. Yeah, thank you.